Hey guys, it's Alex. So the Mach 1 is being rumored to be released in 2021. Ford is out there in Detroit, probably close to where the Corvette got its wheel stolen, doing some testing on the supposed up-and-coming Mach 1. Now, a lot of people are speculating as to what the layout is going to be on the Mach 1. What engine, trans, suspension package is going to be on the Mach 1. A couple of guys messaged me today and said, hey, what do you think the Mach 1 is going to have in terms of an engine? Do you think Ford is going to put the DCT in the Mach 1? Do you think Ford is going to put the 5.2 in the Mach 1? Well, there is precedent. Okay, let's look at 2004. In 2004, a regular GT was a 2-valve. I forget what trans. Is that a T45 in it? I forget exactly what trans was in those 2 valves, but I believe it was a T45 as it was a 5-speed. Then the Mach 1 came out and it was a 32 valve upgraded GT. I think the trans was still the same. Quote me if I'm wrong. If I am wrong, tell me I'm wrong in the comments. I'm sure you guys would love to do that. But it was a 32 valve as opposed to a 16 valve. So it went from a 2-valve to a 4-valve per cylinder. It had a better interior, had a shaker hood, had a bump in horsepower to the tune of like 40 horse. You know, GTs were 260. The Mach 1 was 305. So at the time, if you had a Mach 1, you were pretty baller. But there still was the Terminator. 0304 Cobras were out and about doing their thing. That was a top dog back in its day. So let's take those metrics and put it to today's standards. Right now, you have 10R80 equipped GTs running 11s showroom stock, 10s lightly modified, 9s and 8s with superchargers. That is going to be so tough to beat because that's how we measure things nowadays, Ford, that's how we measure things nowadays. How upgradable this Mach 1 can be. So, is the Mach 1 going to be something between a GT and a GT350? In my opinion, yes. Because Ford, in my opinion, should keep the GT350 out there based on the badass brakes, badass suspension. I love the looks. I don't like the fact that a regular manual GT has more technology than a GT350. That's still kind of troubling to me. A 2018 and a 2019 Mustang have more technology than a 2018, 2019 GT350. Downshift rev matching, direct injection, bunch of other doohickeys. Yes, the 350 has better suspension. But what is this Mach 1 gonna be? A bridge between the GT and the GT350? Or a bridge between the 350 and the GT500? That's funny. Is the GT350 known as a lesser car than the Mach 1? Let me know in the comments. If that's the case, let's say, for debate's sake, it is a bridge between the 350 and the GT500. What do you have to do to have something be in between both? Well, you either have to have a 5.2 in the Mach 1 or a DCT dual clutch transmission in the Mach 1. What is more likely? I think it's more likely to have a DCT in the Mach 1 than a 5.2 in the Mach 1. I still think Ford does not want to make the Mach 1 a better vehicle than the GT500 when it comes to upgrades. Because imagine if they do put a 5.2 liter engine in the Mach 1 behind a DCT, or in front of a DCT, sorry. That means with a blower, that's going to destroy the GT500. Obviously not in notoriety, in class, but in terms of performance, it'll destroy it. Right now, a Ford Mustang GT blower will outperform a GT500 mod for mod. Once they're both blown, it's really tough to beat a GT. Let's say, for instance, let's put a Mustang GT with a blower, 13 psi, E85, and the same thing on the GT500 E85. Who do you have your money on? Let's say it's a 10R80 versus a DCT. I'm going to put my money on the Mustang GT. So Ford has to say, well, we got to introduce something that's a bridge between either the GT and the 350 or the 350 and the GT500. What do we want as Mustang people? What do we want? We want a 5.2 11-to-1 compression DCT Mach 1. Doesn't that sound badass? Just think about the possibilities of a 5.2 DCT 11-to-1 compression Mach 1. That means with a blower and 10 psi, it will destroy stuff. It would just be really hard to beat on the street. So I don't think Ford wants to hurt GT350 sales or GT500 sales. So I think what they're going to do is keep the 5-liter and put a DCT. But again, therein lies another issue. The 5-liter is super stout, 11 or 12-to-1 compression like Gen 3 is. So imagine if they have a 5-liter in there, 5.0, 12-to-1 compression, and a DCT. Again, 10, 11 pounds of boost in E85, and you're killing stuff that's comparable. So I'm not 100% sure Ford is going to do any of that. I think it is more likely that it'll be a bridge between the GT and the GT350. So what I think they're going to do is they're going to keep the 5.2 in the 350 and the GT500. The 5.2 I don't think will ever make it into a GT-based vehicle, which would be a Mach 1. I think you're going to get something between a GT and a Bullet. Basically, you're going to get a nicer cold air, a shaker hood, maybe a revised transmission, not 100%, and you're going to get an appearance package. It could just be an appearance package GT. And based on Ford's lineage and Ford's history, that is more likely than it getting an absolute monster of an engine, an absolute monster of a trans, to compete against itself. GT350, GT500. Imagine GT350s are going for $55,000 to $60,000, and the Mach 1 comes out at a price of about $55,000, but it has a way better engine and transmission than the GT350 and theoretically the GT500 if it's high compression. Why would you buy a GT500 at that point? Why would you buy a GT500 when the Mach 1 has potentially a 5.2 high compression V8, not a Predator motor, because I guess Predator equals supercharged, but let's say a 5.2 crossplane, not flat plane. The flat plane stays in the 350. That's why I don't think Ford's going to do that and shoot themselves in the foot and give you something that is insanely badass that's supposed to be in between a 350 and a 500. They are more likely to give you something that's between a GT and a GT350, and maybe something like Bullet goes away or Boss 302. Think of it like a Boss 302. So the S197 is actually a pretty good comparison. Horsepower-wise, you might have a little bit of a bump between the Coyote and the Roadrunner engine in the Boss 302, but you had supremely advanced suspension, appearance packages, so that made it rare. I think the Mach 1's going to be the same, unfortunately. A lot of you that are waiting for a 5.2 DCT 11-to-1 or 12-to-1 compression Mach 1, that's not going to happen because that makes the car instantly better than any GT500. I think what you're going to get is a GT with a whole bunch of lipstick, Mach 1 badging, nice wheels, a shaker hood, and different interior engages. Could be wrong. If Ford somehow takes the thought process like Dodge is doing, Dodge is out there offering you 50,000 types of Challenger. The 1320 edition, the Red Eye, the Demon, the 392, the RT, SRT. I mean, they're offering you 500 different versions when Ford has the 350, the 500, and the GT. So, Ford, if you want to please the enthusiasts, meaning the guys that want to go fast, stick a 5.2 in that guy. Stick a 5.2 in a 10R80. Oh, could you imagine what a 5.2 and a 10R80 would be like in a Mach 1? Holy shit. In terms of drag racing, because guess what, guys? That's all we do in America. A lot of you guys that watch me in the UK and Australia, all we give a shit about is drag racing and roll racing. That's how we measure everything. For you guys that want to go on the Autobahn and the Nürburgring, we don't care. We want a straight line monster. I don't think Ford is going to give us that in the Mach 1. I think it'll be more likely a lipstick up, badged up, shaker hood, PP2 package GT. I could be wrong, but I haven't been wrong in a while. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll talk to you later.